Hi Marsha, and welcome to the Maestro Online. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Robin. Thank you.
So tell me about you and how your singing journey, where did it begin?
So my singing journey began, like many people from my background, in church. So my mum was a singer as her night job, and my dad was a DJ. And so we had a lot of music in our home. So I was always singing, but I actually used to go up in the pulpit in church and sing from 18 months old with her.
Wow.
And I have slight memories of that.
So you probably have singing when you were in the womb, even before you were born into this world.
Maybe. It was around me quite a lot. So I remember just singing a lot in church growing up, and then being handed the junior choir at 11 years old. And this was in Jamaica actually, because I was in between places. My dad retired early, and so I've never stopped. It just didn't stop. It wasn't anything that I intentionally went towards. It's something that sort of just happened.
Yes. So when you were coaching the junior choir, did that change the way you were thinking about singing? That made you reevaluate things, or was it just, I've grown up with this. I know this is how it should go. I'll show you. Come and join me. Yes,
I think it was probably the second option, because again, I didn't think much about the technicalities of it. Didn't think much about how to blend. I knew I wanted everyone to sound together, but I didn't quite have the terminology or the ways to communicate how. Okay,
so these skills developed later on in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you're going through senior school age, and you're getting towards 18, what's happening in your life at that stage?
So by then, I was a part of a group. A few friends when I was about 14 said, "Come, some people from my church want to sing, and they need some people to sing." And we went, and it was these two guys that started a group, and we did like roots and reggae music. That's sort of, so my background was kind of in gospel, but I ended up there and did a bit of pop and reggae, and we were recording in the studio. That's when I started to think about things, when I started to hear my voice coming back. That's when I wanted to really fix things and learn how to explain what I actually wanted to hear.
Did you know at that point that singing was basically going to be your life?
No, not at all. I wanted to be a psychotherapist, so I went to university. I studied psychology, a bit of media performance on the side. I wanted to be a psychotherapist or a teacher. I wanted to be a dentist at one point, so it's very unrelated. But I'm sort of glad that it's ended up like this.
So what point did it turn, or didn't it turn? It just happened?
It just happened. Well, it kind of did turn. When I was studying psychology, I thought of the journey towards being a psychotherapist, and I knew that I wouldn't be happy. I also really enjoyed singing, and I didn't want anything to take me away from that. I enjoyed working with choirs and groups, and I started doing a bit of coaching in schools by then. And then I used to do admin work in the West End sometimes, or in the city of London. And I had this really strange thing happening with my wrists. And I couldn't type for long. I could barely drive sometimes. I couldn't hold anything for long. The doctors couldn't figure out what it was. And so my hands wouldn't work, but my voice still worked. So I ended up gravitating towards that work, and things just started coming in. And that's what happened. I sort of fell into it without even trying.
So how did you then get into the bigger gospel world and get connected with people like Basil and London Community Gospel Choir? How did that evolve in your life?
That evolved in my life through church, because the networks are very strong within gospel in the UK. And I started a community choir with my friend. So a friend of mine, she had an idea to start a community choir in Luton, where I was studying at the time. And that was a big thing, because then we got people from London to come and support, or people from London to come and do workshops, or to coach the choir, or to sing solos, etc. And so for a few years that was going on. And we built really good relationships with people from London. And then moving back to London after uni, I can't remember where I met Basil, and I also met Karen Gibson from the Kingdom Choir as well.
Yes.
So over the years, just seeing them around places and saying hello, having little chats and stuff, it's like, are you interested in joining a choir? maybe, and I didn't know if I'd have the time to do it. And eventually, I was 8 months pregnant when I auditioned for London Community Gospel Choir.
Wow.
They were very close to where I was living at the time.
Yes.
I was already in the Kingdom Choir as well.
Okay.
And yeah, that's
So
over the years, it was a gradual.
And these choirs, of course,
relationship.
have brought you some phenomenal opportunities.
They have. They really have. So they've opened me up as a conductor and as an arranger as well, a lot. They've allowed me spaces to grow within that. Also working with people like Mark DeLissa, fantastic. He's the gentleman who did the Queen's Jubilee music to provide the choir for that the other day. That these people have just really, I just think it's really important for us to see people and to be able to help to pull out the gold out of them, to help to pull out the treasure that's in people.
Yes.
So I because people have done that for me, I always want to try and do that for younger people as well.
What's your favourite singing opportunity for those choirs that you've had?
Oh, this is going to sound so strange. My favourite singing opportunity probably be one of the smaller things that no one would have seen.
Okay.
And it is when Kingdom Choir were on tour in America. We went to, I think it was Santa Barbara, and we did a school workshop. And
that's hilarious because my sister lives there, by the way.
We did a school workshop and we did a concert for the schools that brought their students. It was one of the best things I've ever experienced and ever done in my life.
Because?
I really felt like we connected with them.
Okay.
I think for me, going and performing it is great, and people, clapping and giving standing ovations is wonderful. But if I'd like to have impacted them and left them with something.
So really, more than performance, for you, singing is about connecting and engaging, rather than being a show that somebody claps at.
Yeah, I get bored of that for myself.
Yes.
And I think it's wonderful that exists, but that's not what I feel like I'm called to be.
Yes.
Or to do. I feel like I really am about connecting with people and allowing people to engage and have a moment where they feel something that they can take with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've been talking to me earlier today about when you were pregnant and some changes that had to happen to your life and how those changes have affected you as a singer as well. Tell us a bit about that.
Right. So, when I was pregnant, I was probably singing with really bad technique then anyway, before. But I was okay, I was comfortable, and a lot of the times as singers we do have habits that we carry for years and we function with these habits. But then as the hormones change, the body changes, the space that we have changes as well, because everything sort of lifts up. We need a lot more space to carry the baby. I found within the first 2 trimesters, my voice soared, my range opened up and was actually quite good. It was great. I wanted to keep that. However, by the 3rd trimester, I had to slow down a little bit. A lot more breathless. I'd had a little bit of an accident as well. I had a bit of a car accident as well at 5 months pregnant. So I had a bit of whiplash. That actually stayed with me, which I didn't realise for quite a while. And so the back muscles, the core, the deep core muscles as well that can help to support us with singing, those were just not working.
Yeah.
And so even after pregnancy, I felt a complete change. I felt breathless most of the time. I felt back pains when I was singing for a long period of time. And so I struggled actually.
So you probably can't separate how much of that was pregnancy and your body changing, how much of it was whiplash, and the combination of them both.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But having spoken to other people who have carried babies, or people who have had accidents, or people who have had any kind of trauma to the body, we'll keep trauma with a small t for this, it would seem that it can affect our breathing. It can affect, something as simple as diet, sleep, sinuses. It can affect our breathing.
How much do you think you improved your breathing when you were heavily pregnant? So if somebody else is watching this who is pregnant now, who is feeling her tummy getting bigger. Does she need to stop singing? Does she carry on? Does she need to refine her breathing? Have you got advice for somebody in that situation?
Yes. Advice, which I wish I'd had then, would be don't stop singing. Even if it doesn't sound quite the way you want it to sound, and even if it feels a little bit breathless, just do what you can and have grace with yourself to produce sound, enjoy sound. The baby enjoys it too. And then once everything, hopefully getting back to some kind of normalcy, to maybe try and relearn breathing. And relearning breathing may not just be textbooks, it may be trial and error for ourselves as well, because things will probably feel different. So maybe breathing will be a completely different focus. For example, I was saying that I have to focus a little bit more on my back muscles because they can be quite tight.
I think this doesn't just apply to pregnancy. I mean, I coach a professional rock pop vocalist who got COVID and was so worried that he was going to lose his career because of the effect on his voice. And then I worked with an actual medical professional and we developed things through there. And I think what you're talking about will help people in that situation as well, because medics often say with people with COVID, you can't expect your breathing to be what it was before. You have to relearn it. And that relearning, I think, is really useful to people from a range of backgrounds, not just pregnancy,
I think so as well, definitely. And as we get older, as life happens, our voice lives through these things with us as well. So sometimes the voice will change, or what the voice needs to support it will change. Spot on, I think so. I think it can apply to many people.
Yeah. So, if you could give everybody in the world one piece of advice about singing, what would that one piece of advice be?
Embrace your own voice. Own your voice and embrace your own voice.
Own your voice and embrace your own voice.
Yeah.
Marsha, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.